It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I'm thrilled to be doing a series that is near and dear to my heart. It's about women leaders in the law. And this is in alignment with an organization that I'm rather involved in called Women Own Law. And this month, I'm highlighting a lot of the women who have dedicated their time because they believe in women leadership around the law. So today's special guest is Alaina Fotiu-Wojtowicz. She is coming to us from Florida. We have guests from all over the country in this series. And she does commercial litigation and catastrophic personal injury. Alaina, welcome and thank you for joining me today on Her Success Story.
Thank you so much for having me, Ivy.
So how did your career and making the decisions to get involved in the legal space, where did that come to for you? Where was this level of importance?
So, I'm kind of an anomaly in my family, so it's a little bit hard to trace. I had this from middle school, after I did a debate class, I had this kind of abstract idea that I wanted to be a lawyer. Nobody in my family is a lawyer. My mom was the first in her family to go to college. My whole family's in education. And for some reason, I decided I wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't really even know what that meant. I think it's kind of lucky that it turned out that I actually enjoy being a lawyer and it was a good fit for me. But I think I kind of stumbled into it without really knowing what I was getting into, which I think a lot of people do with the law. But lucky for me, it turned out to be a happy accident instead of an unhappy accident.
And so you went to law school. Where did this drive as far as litigation and catastrophic personal injury? Those aren't necessarily always the normal paths. So how did your path develop?
That's another thing that was a little bit of a happy accident.
So we're good on happy accidents.
No, I know. It's like, it'd be better if I had a real plan, but luckily, it has, my career's kind of developed through like wonderful people and mentors that I've met along the way. I started out my career working for a federal judge as a law clerk. And I was at the trial court level and I kind of saw, all the types of different litigation that came through. And kind of at that point, I knew this is for me. I want to do what those lawyers are doing. And I got my first job out of law school at a law firm that did only business litigation. And, I feel that sometimes people kind of thumb their nose at or look down upon personal injury lawyers. There's all these derogatory terms for us. They call us ambulance chasers and things like that. And I can't say that I was totally immune from that when I graduated law school. It's like enough people say it and you start to recognize it a little bit. And I was introduced to the person who ended up being my mentor and sponsor. His name is Michael Olin. He's a prominent lawyer in my legal community, who had started his own firm, and he hired me as his first associate. And he did a combination of complex commercial litigation and personal injury, medical malpractice, products liability. And I kind of thought when I took that job, well, he's a great lawyer. He's going to be a great person for me to learn from. He's got great, interesting commercial work. And those personal injury cases, I can live with that. And then I went there and started doing the practice. And oh my God, the work doing personal injury is so rewarding. Your clients, they need you so badly. I mean, every person that you meet them on like the worst day of their life, and they themselves don't have any ability to really address their problems. And in the work that we do, we do only people who've had really serious, significant injuries, surgical injuries, brain injuries, things like that. So the being able to help somebody and their family get through this really difficult time in their life and recover is very rewarding. Your clients are so grateful and appreciative in a way that they're not always in the commercial context. And also, a lot of times you learn a lot about the medical aspects of the case, which I didn't really think of. And I think that that's super interesting. You learn all about their medical care treatment, the types of things that go along with particular injuries. It's like now when somebody gets injured, I'm like, oh, did you have this procedure? And they're like, yes, I did. How do you know that? And I just learned to really enjoy it. And when I started my own firm, my practice kind of mirrored the practice that I had at that firm with my mentor. And I really enjoy both aspects of the practice. And I like having both because it gives you a little bit of variety. You're not doing all of one thing or all of another thing.
So I have to ask, okay, I think this is important. You had a mentor, you were working for him. How do you walk away from that to start your own? What was that? Because very often when you admire somebody and they're mentoring you, it's hard to break away. And then does that relationship retain?
He's a counsel at my firm. He and he works for us now. I actually just spent all day with him in a deposition yesterday. He's much older than me. He'll be 72 this year. So it got to a point where we were having a practice and we had a conversation and I was looking to ramp up. I was like, we need to hire more people. And he was thinking, I don't want more overhead. I want to work less. I don't want to work more. And so we had a conversation and he said, let's go. We'll go together. We'll, interview other firms and we'll go and you'll go in as a partner and I'll go in as of counsel. We'll bring our, senior paralegal. The three of us will go together. And I said, I don't want to do that. I'm like at the point I would have stayed working. I would have stayed working in that same configuration. I don't know about forever, but for longer.
Right.
It was a really good working relationship. He never told me what to do. He let me do whatever I want. I took whatever cases I want, even though it was always his business and not mine. I was a partner, but not an owner. I was very fairly compensated. The work was super interesting. I had no complaints, but I knew I didn't want to go do it for somebody else. And when you join somebody else's firm, even if you join as a partner, you're going into their vision. They're the ones who are the decision makers. And I said, give me a little bit of time. And I had always spoken with a friend and colleague of mine, Ben Brodsky, who's now my law partner. And we had breakfast and I just said, it's time for me. I'm ready to do this. Are you ready to do it? And he said, yes. And we started a firm 3 months later.
And, it takes guts to go out on your own. It takes guts to take on the responsibility of building something and the responsibility of paying people and the overhead involved. So how did you transition into taking on that responsibility?
So I was scared, very scared of it. I think I was more scared than my partner was. I literally paid off everything. I paid off my house. I paid off all my what was little was left of my student loans. I made sure my car was owned outright.
So in essence, you went on a personal spending spree to pay off all debt, which
I was like, I have no obligations. My nut that I need to cover at this point, if we don't make any money, I just got to pay for my groceries and my property taxes. It'll be okay. I don't have these obligations. I didn't have anybody that I was supporting at the time other than myself. And then obviously we started with one.
I got to jump in here for a second because I have to say in all the years I've been doing this, I've never heard that. And I think it is awesome. It is, in a way, it is a way to take care of yourself first, and it's so often when we go and we build businesses, we forget to take care of ourselves. And I think and I just want to give you a huge shout out for that. And congratulations, is you took care of yourself first and said, I'm going to make sure I'm okay and that I'm not vulnerable or can be hurt, and pay my bills so I can do this, this, and that, and then do this, and I'm good. So hats off to you.
Thanks. It was certainly a way of trying to take, away a little bit. I knew that I wanted to do it. And I have always been good in my life at betting on myself, but doesn't mean that there's not stress that goes along with it, because who knows? I mean, it did the first year, we did fine, but it wasn't like there was money falling from the sky. We had, all these startup costs. We had a full-time staff member. Doing a lot of personal injury work. I wasn't able to bring a ton of clients with me. And the ones that I did bring, cases that were in the middle, you owe, you have to pay some of the
You have
payoff.
to pay the expenses of the case until you see the money. So you're investing early on in your success and you don't see the results, what can be months or longer.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that takes guts. It's not like you walk in and you're doing hourly billing and you could then bill at the end of the month. And then, 30, 60 days, you're starting to see a flow. In the area of law that you're in, your work is paid on a later date.
Luckily for me and for us, my partner does a lot of billable work more than I do. So we had some flow from the beginning from his work to, make sure that we were able to pay our rent, pay our employee, and things like that. And, some of those funds were also used to finance some of my cases that we're going to pay out later. And, part of what works for our firm is that we have a mixture of the contingency cases, both on the business side and the personal injury side, but we do have some billable work. So at the end of the month, it's never like, oh my God, no money came in this month. It's a kind of a mixture, which takes a little bit of the pressure off again.
So share a little bit about how long ago did you start?
In January of 2017 is when we opened. So it's been, I guess, a little over 6 years.
And where are you today as a firm?
We have 7 lawyers. 6 of them are, 5 of them are full-time employees of the firm, and we have 2 of counsel. One, my mentor and former colleague, Michael, who works, I don't know. I don't know if he would say he works full-time or not. I don't think he works full-time. Comes to the office most days for a while. And then we also have an of counsel who's a close personal friend of mine. We clerked together and have worked in a couple of jobs together. And she has very young children and doesn't want to work full time, just wants to do some research and writing and litigation support. And she's been with us basically since the beginning. So there's 5 full-time and 2 of counsel, and we have 4 administrative support staff.
How do you feel today about what you've accomplished?
I'm very proud of it. It's probably one of the my building this firm is one of the things in my life that I'm most proud of. I think we've managed to recruit a really wonderful group of people. We enjoy spending time together. I feel we do good work for our clients. We do interesting work. We provide jobs for a lot of people. I was very proud during the pandemic that we were able to. The only 2 people that took pay cut during the pandemic were Ben and myself. Nobody on the staff had to take any type of pay cut or feel any anxiety for their jobs or how they're going to support their families. And that the firm is just, I'm very proud of our firm.
What has surprised you in being a business owner and leading this firm?
How much I hate doing the administrative things. I really didn't think I would dislike it that much. Figuring out what health insurance we're going to get for the firm, or like making sure we have like insurance to cover our lawyers when they're driving. We had a lawyer who started, and my partner and I at that point were, to save money, sent our lawyer to the photographer rather than having the photographer come to us. And he caused an accident on the way to on his second day of work, caused an accident, rear-ended somebody, and was about to get sued. And we get a letter saying, was this in the course and scope of your employment? And I was like, yes, it definitely was in the course and scope of your employment. And realizing, we should have car insurance that covers our general liability policy should cover those types of things. I really dealing with payroll, I really don't enjoy it. I enjoy being a lawyer. I do it because my Ben and I share the responsibilities, had divided the responsibilities for the management side of the firm. But I don't think I thought it would take as much time as it does. And I don't think I knew that I would dislike it as much as I do. I dislike it a lot.
That is fair. And you're, I actually have to say, I mean, I run a business for 30 some odd years. The bane of my existence is insurance. So listeners, you could quote me and all the insurance agents out there who are going to now come knocking at my door. Trust me, I have delegated it. I don't deal with it if I don't have to. Call my husband. I truly, I make sure I surround myself with smart people so I could, to give me the information that I need and then execute, because insurance and it's just, again, and I'm good with a lot of other admin. What is your vision for the firm moving forward? What's next for you guys? What do you see?
So we're still growing. So we're still building the firm. We're actually hopefully, knock on wood, in the next day or two, signing a new lease for an office that's about double the size of our current office.
Wow, congratulations. That's huge.
I think we'd like to be about, within the next 5-10 years, like we'd like to be about 10-ish full-time in the office lawyers, and then, maybe some of these kind of part-time outside people. I think that's what we would like to do. We found it's been very difficult in Miami to hire very talented people, just because it's a tight job market. And also in the pandemic, everybody realized that Florida and Miami are a great place to live. So a bunch of new businesses, new law firms have opened over the course of the past 3 years, and they're trying to kind of build their offices and gobble up people. So it's just a very competitive market. But yeah, I think we'd like to be probably about twice the size that we are right now within the next 5-10 years.
Love that. What is one thing you've learned in this process? One tip that you might share forward?
I don't think that prior to opening my firm, I talked to so many people who had opened their own firm since doing it. Since we did it, we went around and, talked to all these people that have done it to get their advice. And, what do we do for this? What do we do for that? And one thing that really surprised me, and it has been my experience as well, is I have not talked to a single person who decided they wanted to go out and open their own business that is sorry that they did it. And part of that may be just self-selection, right? The people who are more likely to kind of like the independent practice and to be in kind of a management role and take on that responsibility are the people who are more likely to do it. But I've never heard somebody say that they regretted it. And most of the time, people's biggest fear, I think, is that they are not going to, be successful or make enough money to support their family or whatever. And almost uniformly, I've heard people say, that they were surprised, but that they're making more than they were when they were with a bigger law firm, and they had undervalued themselves kind of before they went out. And so the thing that I've learned is, you should really bet on yourself. If it's something that you're interested in doing, that you want to do, even if you're nervous about doing it. So it's not for everybody. Some people don't want to do it, but if it's something that you're interested in doing and that you want to do, you should bet on yourself, because I don't know anybody who said that they wanted to do it, that they did it, that ended up regretting it.
I love that. Bet on yourself. If you believe, if it's something you want to do, don't hold back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Alaina, thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Her Success Story and sharing our series on women leaders in the law.
Thank you so much for having me. And I would be remiss if I didn't to put in a plug here to anybody who's listening, to say, if you're listening and you're interested in learning more about women entrepreneurship, the Women-Owned Law Symposium organization that both Ivy and I are involved in is taking place in Philadelphia at Drexel Law School on April 18th and 19th. And if you have any interest in women entrepreneurship, you should really check it out.
Thank you for taking that. Listeners, if something in our conversation today resonated with you, as Alaina and I were chatting, take a moment and say, what is your takeaway? What is your aha from listening in? Write it down. Feel free to put it in the notes right below, and then make the decision. What is the action you're going to do based on that piece of information? It's great we listen. I appreciate all the listeners out there. Always like to make a greater impact and understand that you are not just listening, but learning, finding things that work for you and creating the action plans around them. So thanks again for joining us today at Her Success Story. If this would make sense to sharing forward with somebody you know, please share that forward, pass it forward. Knowledge is power, and the more people we enable to have knowledge, the more powerful we all are. So till next time, as we continue this series on women leaders in the law.
I don't need your approval anymore, 'cause I've got mine.